Yeah, hi all. Uh, Welcome to another session of mock interviews with Ankit Jain. So this is me, Ankit Jain. So I'm a technical architect at MNC. I'm technical certified. I'm active in Salesforce events. This is my LinkedIn URL and this is a QR code for that. So you can connect with me. And to be updated on the future session, you can either connect with me on LinkedIn, you can join the WhatsApp group. So if you want to have one-to-one session with me, you can book it on TalkMate. And there are a couple of videos like which are already recorded. Some of them are like on solid principles or mock interviews only for different techniques levels as well. And few videos are around basic subject as well. So you can feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. This is the name of the channel, mock interviews with Ankit. This is the URL for that. So today we have a participant A, who will be taking a mock interview. So let's get started. So hello participant A. So you ready for the interview? Yeah. So you all set for the interview?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So let's get started with a brief introduction.
Okay. Yeah, sure. So, as you know, as of now, like my name is Participant A, and I have nearly 7.2 years of experience in IT, and 5 years in Salesforce ecosystem. So currently, I'm working in TCS as a Salesforce developer. So prior to that, I was worked as a Salesforce developer in Wipro and IBM. And so in my total experience, I have worked on almost 4 to 5 projects, and my core strength lies in LWC and kind of integration and apex development part mainly. And in terms of certifications, I am holding currently 7 certifications, and the latest being the application architect. And yeah, so do you want to know anything about my project? Please let me know.
Yeah, it was a good start, but there are a few things that you can omit. Like, see, just tell about your current employment, past employment. If needed, the panel would ask. Unless they ask, don't say anything about that. Reason being, like, then the question would be, like, how many years you were in their previous company, like in Wipro or in other companies. So that way, it can go against you. So my recommendation would be just say, like, I'm currently working
Okay.
at this current company, and I have total this IT this much years of IT experience, like what you mentioned, and then the relevant in syllabus is this. You can talk about the certifications in the beginning itself. Like I hold 7 certifications, in latest one being application architect, and you can also mention the others. So that the panel knows like what are the means any specific certification like which you have done like any Omni Studio or any Sales Cloud, Service Cloud. So the panel would get to know you better.
Okay. Okay.
And then you can talk about like my skill set includes Apex, LWC, and you can dig down into more into Apex. Like I worked on the asynchronous Apex as well. I wrote the batch classes. I created future methods. I wrote some test classes as well. Declaratively, I worked on the splitting the security model, profile permission set groups. Then I also did work on creating public groups, and I explicitly worked on any specific cloud which you have worked on recently. You can talk about that so
Okay.
that the panel knows like you know the particular cloud. It's not like you don't know any cloud.
Okay. Yeah.
And then what you're saying about the project, yes, you can have to definitely say about that. Like if you want, I can talk about the recent project which I worked on.
Okay. Yeah.
So would you like to reiterate that and modify the introduction as per the recommendation right now? Yeah. So participant A, can you reiterate the introduction, please, now?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So, my name is Pratin Day. I am currently working in TCS as a Salesforce developer, and total I have 7 years of IT experience, 5 years in Salesforce, and in that 5 years I've worked on many things, including Apex development, LWC configurations, included like permission sets, profiles, all the page layouts, and the security models of the Salesforce. And basically I have worked on on a Sales Cloud part, and now I'm learning the CPQ as well. And I have total 7 certifications, and Application Architect is being the latest one. Yeah, so if you allow, I can elaborate about my project.
Yeah, that's good. So, you please explain about the recent project which you worked on.
Yeah, so currently I am working on a chatbot kind of a thing. So it's a LWC made like user interface where users will be entering some questions related to their policy. So my project is insurance based. So employees can know about their policy retiring date and when that is going to be renewed, what are the benefits, what are the future plans, what are the member line items. So regarding that, they can raise the questions through the chatbot, and from backend there is another server. So from that, so that is integrated with the Salesforce system, and from backend the response comes back and shows to the UI. So that is being the latest work I'm doing currently.
See, what you said is like very specific to the project, like whatever you worked on. See, whenever you're talking about a particular project, tell about like what is the business objective. Like suppose like you can say like the main objective was to improve the customer experience of the policy holders. So the client was struggling with the getting a good user experience for its customers. Like there were too many calls. So the client wanted to have the call deflections. For doing that, what they did is they created a customer community or used the experience cloud, and there they placed the chatbot. So when the user, our policy holders enter the policy means login into the system, they are presented with the chatbot. So whatever queries they have, those are entered into the chatbot, and then the chatbot then sends these details to the actual database where these are already fed and they are already answered. So they gives the response, and then in the chatbot, it is being answered for the customer or the policy holder. This LWC, this chatbot is built on LWC. So LWC facilitates the calling of doing the integration like through the by calling the Apex methods, and then through the callouts, the response is being returned and being showcased to the user. See, the same thing what you told, I just explained like how it you will have to explain like
Yeah, yeah,
whatever I was saying was making sense.
yeah, yeah.
So, since it was around the Experience Cloud, you could have also told about like I worked on the Experience Cloud as well because this is around the Experience Cloud, right?
Yes, yes. Mainly Sales Cloud I worked on. I'm just learning the CPQ as of now.
Yeah. So this project like was not like Experience Cloud was not there for this implementation.
No, no,
What
no.
you mean? Then where was the chatbot placed?
It was in the within the component itself. Like, so it is on the A component. So that is open to users. But I do not know about the Experience Cloud as of now. I just developed the LWC part.
So that LWC component where it is used, like it's written Salesforce community only, right?
Yes, Salesforce community only.
Yeah, so tell them like it was placed in the community, but that was my work was revolved around configuring the chatbot. You can mention after explaining this part.
Okay. Yeah.
So my focus was towards like Sales Cloud. There were multiple teams involved. So my work was most on the Sales Cloud. There was a separate team for Experience Cloud. So they worked on this.
Okay.
Now, you mentioned around it was around the chatbot. So in that you worked on LWC. So for configuring with the chatbot, like what interface did you implement in the LWC, or what was the target that you set in the LWC for this chatbot?
Yeah, so for the chat bot, like the third party system, so that was not a Salesforce org, so that was a different org. And so for that, we have to configure the basic integration steps which are involved, like setting the external credentials and the named credentials. After that, we have to create the OAuth flow and all the required tokens and password usernames. And we have used that in our Apex classes through the named credentials we have uses. then for a particular user, like for our case, like there were three members in our team who are responsible for like doing the integration work. So for that, we have used that licenses for getting those data. And from LWC, we have just used the fetch, and we have collected all the responses, and through Lightning format registers, we have just shown all the details of the users.
Uh, I would say like there's a slight improvement you can do while you are explaining this. So what you can say is like it was directly this chatbot was placed on the public website. It was not into Salesforce, so we had to use integration. Like the data was into Salesforce. So what we did is like in the LWC, we can instead of calling it through the server Apex class, we did it via the client side using the fetch API that is available. So in the fetch API, like we use the name credentials, but name credentials, like how would you be able to do that in the fetch? Because it would you will have to contribute
No,
to
no,
the Apex.
actually, there was two call outs. So first one, we are calling like firstly we are fetching all the user data through our like the Apex REST API, and after getting all this, like in that case, we have used external credentials and all this, and after getting the user details from that UI, user from that API, so then we are making again call out to the server, and we are fetching through the Fetch API, and we are showing that data to UI.
So the first call is through the Apex and second call is through fetch API.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, then this should come very clearly. Currently, what we extend data is not coming up very clearly. So we can explain about that. Like the first thing that happens, since it's an external system, so the first thing that we did is like but then if it was through Apex, like how would you, okay, you gave that access to guest user, the Apex class access.
Right.
Okay, got it. So you want to explain it that way, like this component was placed on a public website. So there was an Apex callout that we were doing in. So for doing that, we created a name credentials, because that helps us increase the security since the client ID, client secret are not exposed on the UI. And then we do the regular callouts. Since we are using name credentials, there's no need to do the remote side setting. Directly, we are just calling it through http.send and getting the API response, and we are then having those information in the LWC component. And then again, we are doing a call out. This time through the fetch API, we are hitting the external system, and then getting that data and showing it to the user. So this was the work that I had done around the chatbot through
Right.
LWC.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you have to explain it very clearly. Like what you're saying, you were saying many things, but it was like it has to be in proper sequence so that the panel understands like what is exactly happening.
Okay. Yeah.
So you mentioned like you work on the integration, like you did this integration. Can you tell me about the integration patterns that are available in Salesforce? Integration patterns.
So
Yeah.
integration pattern means the best practices we should follow while calling out to any third party API.
See, when we talk about integration patterns, we talk about the different ways of doing integration, like fire and forget, request and reply, then data virtualization, remote call-in. So I will start
Okay.
with the sequence. So have you heard about that request and reply, like doing it to the controller directly and calling it? Fire and forget, like through the future methods or through the asynchronous Apex as well, you can do like through batch class, you're doing a call out. Although not the best example, but this is just one way. Then you have the batch data synchronization. Like it is a lot of data that you are sending it from Salesforce to external system.
Okay. 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 No, 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 I've not worked on that things.
Yeah. So my recommendation would be like, see, since your entire stuff that you're explaining is around the integration, like from the very beginning of the project. So you have to be very much clear on this LWC on this integration patterns.
Okay. Okay.
You can find the official documentation. So it talks about the request reply, fire and forget, data virtualization, remote call in,
Batch synchronous.
and yeah, the UI data update based on data update. So, and the extra examples as well. So there's also a video that I have recorded on this integration pattern. So you can either go with that as well. Like I explain the use cases as well. So you can go through that. So for now, I assume like you will learn about it later. So now
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the continuity, I will go to the next question. Like, do you know about the different asynchronous effects?
yeah. I know that. Yeah.
Yeah. So can you talk about the different asynchronous effects ways?
Yeah, so basically there are four types of asynchronous epics are there. Like firstly is future, then batch, queuable, and schedulable. Yeah,
Can you
so
explain each of those, please?
yeah, sure. So batch is basically deals with like it executes on a separate thread, and we need to use the at that like sorry, I'm talking about the future. So separate thread, and we need to use at that future annotation. And if we want to make any call outs, then we should use the call out equals to true within that. And it's basically we use when there is a like mixed TML exception we got. Where we encounter problem. Suppose we are doing a transactions that involves like both type of objects, setup and non-setup. If we do in a same transaction, so then we face the mixed level exception. And for like for avoiding that error, we should use the batch, sorry, we should use the future. And second is batch. Batch class is basically used when there are like the large chunks of data we need to process, and there is limited resource. So batch takes is like asynchronously, whenever there's a resource they will get free, so they will execute that. And in so it basically implements the interface like bashable context. And and there are three methods like the start, execute, and finish. So for every batch job, like one time start and one time finish is executes. And sorry, one time start and finish method is executes, and start and yeah, and execute method executes. Depends on the batch size. So default is like 200, and maximum it can go up to 2000, and minimum is 1. So depends on that, it can execute. So we need to define the size through scopes. And in case of queuable is same like future, but it gives some extra feasibility. Like we can pass like a subject data through queuable, and also we can get the ID for job ID, so that we can after a transaction we can find that which job has failed and which has success. So that count we can have. And yeah, schedulable is basically for scheduling at a particular time or particular date. So there is chord expressions, so we can use that and we can schedule our jobs. And batch jobs are we can change the batch jobs, but we cannot call the future from another methods. But yeah, so queuable again, we can use with the batch.
See, for the future method, you missed a few things, so I will just to call it out. So, future method, the three use cases are there. First use case is like I want to make a particular code of piece of code as asynchronous. I don't want to execute it synchronously because of improving the user experience. Second is around doing the call out. Like from triggers, I'm not able to do a call out. That was a limitation.
Yeah, yeah.
So to overcome that, I use the future method. By default, it doesn't allow callout, but if I make callout equal to true, then I am able to do the callout. Third use case is around the mixed TML. Mixed TML is comes when you have a setup and a non-setup object. TMLs happening in the same transaction. Second, then you have to talk about cable because future and cable are kind of like cable is an enhancement of future method. So tell them like future method had some limitations like you can't pass this object, you can't track that, and then you can't do chaining as well. So these three limitations are overcome by the queuable. Next is on the batch class. For large chunks of data, like when I have to query more records, or process large volume of data, I go with batch class. So first thing that I get is like in start, there are three methods: start, execute, finish. Start methods, there are two variants. One is like your database.query locator, and second is your iterable. Database.query locator I use to get records more than 50,000 records, and I go with iterable when I already have the data with me, or I want to do some I want to do some processing related to some CSV files or something like that. And I
Okay.
can do callouts from batch class as well. I can do implement database.allow callouts, and then I can use it. And then we have the finish method. I can call another batch from one batch using in the finish method database.execute batch. So this way you have to talk about all of these, like 2 points, like I think were missed, so you can do the necessary corrections
Yeah,
for
yeah.
future. There's a mention that there's a proper video on this as well, like which I created, so you can go through that. It's around 50 minutes video, so that would help you talk about like all the use cases and what it does the problem solving. Okay.
Sure, Ankit. Yeah.
So the next part is around you mentioned like you worked on the LWC components. So in LWC component, can you tell me about what is the difference between var versus let?
Yeah, so where and let both are used for defining a variable, but let is very block specific or function specific. Like within a block, if we define let, suppose let example any we are taking any variable name, so that variable we cannot use outside of the block or outside of the function. We cannot modify or anything, so we need to use there and there only inside the block, whereas where is globally, or I will say like through entire class we can use. And if we change, so it's not a block specific, so if we change outside of the block it will reflect, and we can play through the variables that value.
Okay, so yeah, it's over. So what does Salesforce recommend to do?
Yeah, so if that is like something which we need to do like within a function scope, so then definitely we should use for like late or cons, because it gives more like security. But somehow if we need to use outside of that, so we can use the var keyword.
Okay. Now you mentioned around the security. So what advantages does LWC have over the Aura?
Can you please come again?
What are the advantages of using LWC over Aura components?
Yeah. Yeah, sure. So Aura is it's a what you can say, like before LWC we used Aura, and Aura basically what we find the performance issue, because it's a native, not a Java like JavaScript supported or browser supported. So then internally it has to again be like browser compatible, and then it has to run. So the performance issue is there. And also in terms of development, LWC is more like I would say simple and more easy to track process, whereas compared to the Aura components. And LWC components are like it's a standalone, and like it's a encapsulated format, so we can use the reusability function better in the LWC part. And also it uses like the client side cache very well, manages that. So in terms of security, and such as like cross-site scripting or cross-site record forgery, so that kind of thing LLC handles pretty well. So in terms of that, LLC is also like very much secure than Aura.
What you said, most of the things were right, but a few things I would want to make some slight adjustments to that. So see, LWC is more secure, it's true. And what verbate, like for the Aura is actually a server-side script. And the
Yes.
problem is like whenever we have Aura, like browser has to first get the Aura, read that server-side script and then translate into browser's native language. So,
Right.
but LWC is actually based on the web component framework, which our browser understands by default. So the translation time is low, so the performance gets increased. And for a security purpose, like LWC offers the shadow DOMs.
Right, right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Aura does not support that, so that is the advantage that it has. And for reusability as well, for our LWC, like we can have different controllers for the child, means we can have a nesting of components and both can have different Apex controllers as well. But when you do that with Aura, we get errors as well. So there's more reusability as well.
Okay,
And
okay.
it's I never say like it's easy to learn or hard to learn like that while doing the differentiation. You have to talk about the feature wise. It's not like this can like is a related
Yeah,
question to
I was thinking like it was easy to develop, like
it's
LLC is
it's like it's not you can't have not means we have to talk about like from the general perspective like
okay,
the
okay,
core
yeah,
the core purpose is like two things. First is the security part and second is reusability.
yeah, yeah, got it.
So this was around that. So the next part is around like how do you do communication between various LWC components? Like you can consider take into account different scenarios that you can think of and then explain according to that how would you do the communication.
Yeah, sure. Here, communication can be like from parent to child or from child component to parent component, or there can be scenarios like where the components are not related. So, in case of parent to child communications, we use the basically add that API decorator. So, what does the add that API decorator do? Actually, it exposes a property as a public, so that we can invoke that or we can send data from parent to child. So we have to use on the child side, child variable side. And there are other methods as well, like through query selector, like template or query selector, from parent to child we can invoke the functions. And so that is from parent to child communications. If we talk about from child to parent, so in that case we have to use the custom event. We need to create an event and from child, and we need to dispatch that event. And that event we need to catch in the parent component. We should use the on keyword before that event, and we should receive if there is any parameter or anything like that. And then there should be handler, which should be like if there is any data modifications is there, so that we can do in the parent side. And if there is unrelated components, like both components are not related, so at that point of time previously we used the pub/sub model, so that's kind of a legacy version, and now we use the lightning message service. Here we need to create a lightning message channel. That is on the like default folder within the same folder. And we need to use that channel for so suppose we want to send data from A to B. So we need to import like public message context message channel, and what are the payloads we need to pass. So all these things and digital listeners, so all the things we need to use on A. And we along with that message context message payload, we need to pass, and it should be handled from the other component. And we should import, and we can just
Yeah.
okay, okay. So, so for Lightning message channel, we so there are two components. Suppose component A and component B. So, firstly, we have to create a Lightning message channel, and from component A, we need to fire the message along with the message channel and the message context variable, and we need to use the added where in message context. And then we need to fire. And from the component B side, we need to subscribe the message channel first, and then we can get all the details, all the data that have been sent from parent, like component A, and then we can use that in component B.
Yeah. So what you said is right. That's what it happens. And we need to have the message context as well while pass the message context when we are doing calling the publish and subscribe method.
Right. Yeah.
So now this communication is done. Have you heard about Lightning Data Service or UI API?
Yes. Yes. I've worked on.
Can you tell me about like what are the features that it gives?
Yeah, so Lightning record UI API is basically for doing the manipulations of the records, like DML operations. Like for suppose we want to create a record or fetch any record or update any record. So at that point of time, we use that. So there are like get record, get records, create record. So these things are there. So like create record, for creating record, we need to use the object API name and the field layout, like the field, which fields we want. If we use the full field, then we can use the full layout as full, like field layout as full. And we can pass all the fields. And like there's a input thing, input we have to make, like what are the parameters we want to pass, and we should pass through the create record API. And also like get record and get records are there. So get record is basically for creating for a from fetching a particular object to a record if you want to fetch. And get records is for fetching multiple records from multiple objects. We use that get records, and in that case also we have to use the object API name and also fields. And if there is any like record ID we want to pass dynamically, so that also we can do.
Okay. Can get record work with me? Can I do the get record by name as well?
Get record by name, only name, right?
Yes.
I don't think so, because name can be duplicate. So there can be like ambiguous data we can get.
Okay. So that fact is like get record can only work while you have the ID field with you. That is a
Yeah,
problem.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Can you tell me about the different decorators that are available in LWC?
Yeah, so there are basically three types of decorators we have: at that API, at that track, and at that where. So at that API, as we discussed previously, for exposing a property to public, for it is basically used for suppose any components variable which should be used by any other variable for sending no data or anything like that. So that's where we use at that API. And at that track is basically making a property reactive. So by default, all the properties like primitive variables are by default reactive properties. But some object type properties, like in JSON structure, if you write, suppose there is a class. In class there are various types of data types, like the student name, age is a number, again class is a quick list. So there's a different kind of things we have to write. So in that point of time, objects type of structure, we use the track decorator. And there's a where. So where is basically used for like the fetching data from Salesforce Apex end. So yeah, so these are the uses.
Yeah, so there's a slight correction like track, like you have to use even for arrays as well. So tell them very
Yes.
clearly. So tell it very clearly, like either if you have an array or a custom data type, so you'll have to make it reactive by explicitly. So we need to have the iterate track for that.
Okay. Okay.
Simple.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So and can I pass like at the rate wire like means wire when you use can I pass the parameters dynamically?
Yeah, we can pass the parameter.
Dynamically can I instead of hard coding any
Yeah, yeah,
specific
we can pass through like the string literals we have. Like we have to use the single quote kind of thing, and within that we have to use the dollar sign, I guess. Yeah, so after that we can pass that.
okay, good. So tell me now, like I'm doing the suppose I have multiple promises that are in my LWC component.
Yeah.
So what I want is like after all the promises are done, then only a particular piece of code is should be executed. So what should I do in that regards?
So in that regards, we what we can do, like we can use the promise all. and within that, like there's a dot thing, like dot, we are like sequentially we have to use the dot keyword whenever we are getting from the previous API, we are getting the response or previous promises. Suppose it can be in Apex also, like we're getting the response, then again dot, then again we have to use the method which we are trying to call with the parameters if we have. So again, yeah, so through dot chaining we can do, and we can get all the data, like sequentially we can pass all the data to promises all.
Yeah, promise dot all is the right answer for that. And next thing from the LWC perspective is like, do you know about Lightning data table?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, so suppose I have to create a very basic Lightning data table. So what things are necessarily made?
Firstly, like there's a key field we need to use, and there's a columns. So in columns, we need to use like the three things, like mainly basically two things. What is the label we want to give, and what is the API name, and yeah, so value we can give. So these two or three things are required in columns, and so one is like the data part. So like while fetching the data, if it is true, then we can make use, and we can show the data.
Okay. Uh, so you mentioned like you did a few integrations. So like you worked on flows.
Yeah, I worked on flows.
Can you tell me about different types of flows that are available?
Yeah, basically there are mainly two kinds of flows. Like one is screen flow, and second one is auto launch flow. So in auto launch flow, there are various types. Like there can be record ticket flow, or there can be any like any from schedule ticket flow, or there any platform event ticket flow. So these flows are comes under the auto launch flow.
Okay. So now tell me like can report triggered flow, like what are the different variations that we have?
Yeah, record ticket flow, right?
Yeah, what are different variations under that?
Yeah, so in record triggered flow, suppose if there is any operation that is occurring before create or before update or before delete, so in that case we use that like record triggered flow. And after also, like for after create, update or delete, so we use that. And whenever there is a changes and we want to like send any email or anything, so we can use that flow, and we can complete that part.
Okay. So see, can I do any validation in flow?
Yeah, we can do that.
How do we do that?
Like you are asking about, suppose we are making any update or anything like that, right? So
No,
for suppose
I
null
will
checking.
give you. I will give you a scenario. Like,
Okay.
see, the user enters like enters at the rate in the name. Then I want to
Okay.
stop it. So what can I do? Now through flow, anything is possible.
Yeah, so
Uh,
there is a thing called record.prior, which is basically takes the previous versions of say subject records variables, and we can just compare like the previous name and the same name is same or not. So so record.prior can be we can use like for any update or anything like that.
no, the question was like if there's any at the rate in the name, then it should throw an error. That is the question.
Yeah, so if
So
there's an
I want to throw error that user like why is he entering at the rate in the name?
uh, we can do it through validation rule, right?
Through flows as well, it is possible now. Like you have the option of custom error.
Okay, okay, okay.
Can I do asynchronous operations through flow?
Sorry, I just your voice is breaking.
Asynchronous flow can synchronous operations can I do via flow?
Yeah, yeah, we can do the HTTP callouts as well from action like flow action element.
No, I'm talking about asynchronous operations.
Yeah, synchronous operations also we can do
Okay, and before flow,
before flow.
yeah, that is a question.
Mm, I'm not aware of that.
Asynchronous operations you can do only in after flow because after the transaction is asynchronous flow means after the transaction is completed, then you want to do something. So
Okay,
that's
okay,
why it's supported only in the after flow.
Okay, okay, not before flow. Okay, okay, okay.
Can I call an autonomous flow from regular flow?
Auto launch flow. Yeah, we can call
From where? And before a flow or after flow or both?
after I guess.
Okay. Can I call an auto launch flow from Apex?
Yeah, we can call.
Okay. Can you tell me rough syntax around that?
Like calling.
Auto launch flow from Apex. What is the signature it expects?
Uh, we have to use that the invocable thing.
No, it's not around that. I'm calling flow from Apex. It's not from Apex from flow. Be very much cautious around that. No worries, let me answer that for you. So you can call autonomous flow from Apex, like the signature it expects a string comma object, and then you have to call the mention the flow API name and then flow name dot start.
Okay, yeah, 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 yeah,
Uh, so the next part is like, do you know about the order of execution of triggers?
yeah. Right, I know.
So can you tell me about few of the steps that you recollect on top of your mind around that? The important ones, at least.
Yeah, yeah, sure, yeah. Firstly, if we if firstly the loads the original record from the database, and in case of update or any upsert statement, and then all the field values we get from the request, so that has been overwritten the old values we have. So after that, if there is any record triggered flow, so that runs before the record is saved, and all the before triggers, all the validation rules, then all the duplication rules, then the record is saved, but it doesn't commit. Then all the after triggers, all the assignment rules, and all the workflow. And if workflow there is the field update, so then it updates the record again, and it executes the before update triggers and the after update triggers, and then the escalation rules that is being fired. And after that, if there is any flow with like the process builder or anything like that, or any workflow rules, the flow trigger flow action, so that comes into picture. And after that, it executes the entitlement rules, and after that it executes all the criteria based sharing rules or any record sharing rules that are in place. Then it commits all the DML actions, and then yeah, it committed. And after commit, if there's any logic like sending an email or any outbound message, so that comes into picture.
Yeah, so the important part is like before flow gets executed first and then the before trigger, but after trigger executes first and then the after flow. The important catch is that.
Okay, okay.
Uh, so that is good, like you recollect the entire stuff. The next thing is like while writing the SQL queries, like tell me like uh, if I'm like, can you tell me about with sharing, without sharing, and
Yeah,
related sharing?
yeah, yeah, sure. So in which sharing is basically takes care what all record permissions, all the sharing calculations, like manual sharing or sharing settings, all the what all the record sharing permissions a user have. Keeps in that thing in mind, the classes executes. So that is for with sharing. And without sharing means it runs on by default mode, it's a system mode. And initiated sharing means whenever there is a nested class and all, so the parent class, the classes of the parent class are innately shared by the child classes. So that is initiated sharing.
So by default, it is like the code runs it with sharing or without sharing.
By default it runs with sharing, like the
With
you are, yeah, yeah, without.
okay. Okay. So by if I use have a inherited sharing, what will be the default mode?
Sorry,
If
please
I
come.
am using the inherited sharing and calling it directly, what way, which mode it would be? It would be with sharing or without sharing.
uh initiated sharing, I think it will be with sharing, because we are using the initiated sharing, so we should respect that thing.
Yes,
Although I'm
that's
not
correct.
yeah, okay, okay, yeah.
So the next thing is around like suppose I want to query do a query, and suppose I want to have a object and field checks in place like during while I'm doing the query. So what are the ways I can do to make sure like these checks are handled?
Yeah, can you please tell me the question once again?
Yeah, so the question is like
Yeah.
I want to do a query, okay,
Okay.
and query a few fields. So by default, Salesforce return all of it. But I want like only if the user has permission of those object and fields, then only the data should be returned. So what should we
Okay.
do? I do in that regards.
Okay. So I think there is a like query all fields like that we can use, right? Like fields within bracket all. We should use the SQL query for getting all the fields.
No. The question is like I have to have the checks in place. The FLS and object level checks should be done before I return the records. That is the ask.
Okay. 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 Mm, that thing I need to check. Okay. Can you please tell
Okay,
me?
yeah. So there are two options, like when you have the bit security enforced, and second
Okay.
is
Okay. Yeah. 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 But I forgot. Yeah. Yeah. With security enforced. Yeah. And
with user mode.
right. 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 Yeah.
By default, like there's also like with the system mode as well, there's a keyword available, but with system mode by default it executes in that only. So for us to make sure like these checks are in place, we have to reuse with user mode.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Similarly, for while I'm doing a DML, what can I do to make sure like if a user has access to insert a record, then only he should be able to insert. What are the ways I can do?
What are the ways we can insert like
Yeah, we can
giving
ensure like the users who is doing the insert like has the permission to do so, then only the record should be inserted.
so like run as we can use.
Run as would work only in test class.
Yeah, it's for test classes. Or with user mode.
That is for SOQL.
Yeah. Mm,
So there are two things like see, if I have to do a checks, so there are two ways I can do. One is like through the object describe. I can check like if it is creatable, or if I'm doing an update like is updatable. Like in the object describe, I get those methods.
okay.
And apart from that, since the recently introduced insert as user as a keyword. Let me just share my screen and let the entire our audience also know about this thing, so that all are enlightened around that because not much people are speaking about this. Yeah. So by default, uh, it's not done. So if you have to execute it in user mode, you can do that. So now, Salesforce has done is you can specify like if you have to insert it as user mode or if you have to go with system mode. It's in developer preview right now, but it can be done. This is the one.
Okay. 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 Yeah. These things are new, I think. Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you know about the platform events?
Yes, we know.
Okay, so what are the why do we use platform events? What are the things actually it does?
Yeah, so platform events is basically used. Suppose, like there is a real time data change is there, or any query or any message. So it can be anything, and instantly we need to pass that to other system. So in that case, we use the platform event.
Okay. What means? Okay, got it. So how do you publish the platform event?
Yeah, so publishing a platform event, like firstly we need to create the event, like we can use it through flow or through apex, and through like there's an event bus, and in that event bus we need to like through the event bus we can publish that event.
See, even with JavaScript or LWC component, you can also publish the platform event
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
through API as well.
Yeah, like I've used these things like Apex and so
And
few I've used. Yeah,
yeah, correct. But if someone asks, tell them all the possibilities that are available.
right, right. Yeah.
Okay, the next thing is I think we talked about other stuff, but we didn't talk about the sales cloud which you worked on. So can you tell me about how the typically a sales process works like?
Yeah, sure. Firstly, it comes like whenever we want a particular product, then we raise a query. So that query can be from any website or can be through mail. So firstly, we reach out to that. So whenever our details are saved on the database, so we are considered as a lead, and after lead they try to contact us, and based on that the lead, if we are okay with the pricing and with the quotes, then the leads are converted into like account, contact, and opportunity. So account is basically, suppose if I am I need some computers, like 10 computers, 15 computers for the organization. So in that case, the company name will be account, and I as a spokesperson will be saved as a my name will be saved as a contact, and the opportunities will be the products or the list of materials we need from that shop or from that service. And so yeah, so after negotiations and all these things, if I agreed to make a deal with that, so then the opportunity becomes like the close own, or if I don't want after all the negotiations, then it will be become close lost. Yeah, so if there's like a close on, then there are various services, so they it then goes into services where like for maintenance comes into picture, and we takes care of that.
Yeah, a few things that you said were right, but there's a slight correction in that. See, the journey starts like with the marketing first. There are some campaigns that are run and
Hmm.
through which can run on various channels, like through the public website or through social media channels. And after these campaigns, there are some leads that are coming in from those channels. Now, when we get this data is raw. So these are leads are the persons who have expressed their interest. Now, the job of the sales representative, the sales team is to nurture those leads, check like if they actually want to do the purchase or they were just casually browsing. Now, like there will be some qualifications criteria that would be there in on the leads. Now, once we get the qualification, they are qualified, then we do the conversion into account contact and opportunity. So, opportunity is like a deal. Like I made you a offer, and then means there's a possibility that opportunity is like we are able to generate the revenue. That is a deal around. So now what happens is like from the opportunity, like we create various codes. Like if I consider B2C customer, like I would want, like say, talking about say computers or any highly priced item like car or anything like that. So there would be multiple codes that would be asked by the customer. So we create those codes in the system in the Salesforce. Now, out of those many, there would be a few codes which the customer has agreed upon, and then we have the codes as approved. After the code has been approved, we convert the opportunity into uh, order. Then there will be some order line items as well corresponding to that. Now that order will be linked to our account.
Okay, okay, yeah.
So typically like that you have to explain. Like I
Mm-hmm.
think there were a few
Got it.
misses, but I think you got the
Yeah,
intent like cleared up.
yeah, I kept omitting that part campaigning because it comes under the Salesforce Marketing Cloud. So thinking that
No,
I
start. Yeah, not a problem. But take your like, see, how does it start? That is very much important. Like how it would be like the
okay,
first step would be like from marketing you will get the campaigns. Then from marketing the campaigns you get it comes into sales cloud via leads. Then it's account content opportunities. There and then there are port line items. Then you have the order line items. Then those orders are fulfilled.
right, right, yeah.
And then there's a contract that is generated. So everything you have to talk about like different aspects of that selling process.
Okay, yeah.
Now, do you know about account teams or opportunity teams?
Account teams.
Yeah, or opportunity teams.
Like so account teams, as I know, like the list of users which basically work for a particular account or opportunity, for like for a teams of users which basically combines and make a group and works for a particular opportunity. So
Yeah, what are the key things in that?
yeah, so that are I think based on the geographical area they divides, and they work on a particular different branches of the accounts.
Let me just answer that for you. So see, what happens is like for opportunity teams, it's like a team is selling. So in that team, like while they're trying to sell, each of the team members have different roles, and there are different level of access that are provided to them. So we define the like it is like in the opportunity team member, like we have the user lookup, we have the pick list value of your roles, we have the different access level as well, and then it works. Like we have to enable the team selling, and then it would be enabled. Similarly for accounts as well,
Okay,
there are
okay,
three teams that are actually enabled by default. I mean, that are available from Salesforce: account team, opportunity team, and case team.
okay,
So there are actually multiple questions that are to be asked, but like in the shortest time, like we're limiting to these many questions only as of now.
okay,
So,
yeah,
but one thing, please consider that there will be at least one question on trigger that will be asked by the panel to write the code. Like in the interest of the time, like we are not having this conversation in this interview that is being scheduled. But in the real interviews, you would face a scenario around that. So for to practice around the trigger scenarios, like we have a separate playlist that is available. So I can just show the screen. There's a separate playlist. So I will just share my screen and show the our audience around that. So here, like under the technical sessions, if I look, there are different trigger scenarios that are available, which you should be practicing. One, two, three, four. So you can what participants can or our viewers can have a look on those and practice those scenarios. Since covering them in the regular interview would be too much time consuming. So that's all I would like to say. So practice more and be prepared for the interviews with mock interviews with Ankit.
yeah.
So
Sorry.
participant, yeah. So participant A, would you like to say something to our audience around your experience?
Yeah, it's a great experience for me. I've learned so many new things, and the latest features releases like done by Salesforce. So like that is also a new thing, and I've learned many things, how to answer and how to articulate all the things. Yeah, so it is nice, nice experience.